Hey guys, Ty the dog guy here. I got my dog back here, Chocolate Chip. We've got Christmas sitting over there. Um, Anyways, just hanging out here. I wanted to talk about a problem with dog aggression towards kids, or dogs being aggressive towards kids. Chip, come here. So Chip is, say hi, Chip. Uh, we've had as a family, we've been married 15 years-ish, something like that. And we've had, 5 dogs or so during that time. And Chip has probably been the best one with our kids. Our dog Honey was fine with the kids, didn't really love them, didn't hate them, was just kind of neutral. Our dog Rocco didn't like them. He never did anything wrong. He never hurt anybody, but he didn't like the kids. Chip seems to genuinely like the kids. Hello. And she'll go and interact with them and do stuff with them and stuff like that. And we haven't had that, typically. And so it's been nice. Now, having said that, I've always been very careful about her interactions with the kids. If you want to drive a dog trainer crazy, show them. You guys probably see these floating around on Facebook. There's always these videos on Facebook of look at these cute dogs and kids. And it's like the kid riding on the dog's back and grabbing the dog's face. And people are like, oh, this is adorable. And I get why people think it's adorable. In fact, I've got a video from over a decade ago with my 13-year-old when she was very young, kind of getting on my dog. I was a professional trainer at the time and didn't even realize it. Now this is 13 years later. So I realize now. But anyways, if you want to drive a dog trainer crazy, show them videos of that. Because we know, if you've been in the business for a while, how many kids get bitten by dogs. And how big of a problem it is. And how big the aggression problems can be towards kids. And we know how difficult it is to fix. And to improve and to work on. And it's so difficult because it's not like you can just use your kids as bait, right? And say, okay, we're going to get the kids around the dog, and I know he's going to try to attack them, but it's not this thing that you can. It's not as easy to work on as maybe dog aggression or aggression towards adults or things like that. It's hard. So, anyways, that's where I say, ever since making that mistake I did 13 years ago with my daughter. I've been much more cognizant of it, of dogs and kids. So even with Chip, where'd you go, little girl? Even though Chip's always been super great with the kids, we always are, if we see the kids getting too much inner space, we'll say, hey, give her some space. The kids obviously know don't go near her when she's eating dinner, although she eats dinner in about 30 seconds. And so in general, our kids have really good boundaries because we've taught them. And if they start to get a little bit lax with those boundaries, we remind them and they're good. But I was reminded of how important this is. So we were on a little family weekend thing. We did a little weekend getaway. And we brought Chip with us, and she, we're driving the van. We got 2 kids in the middle seat, 2 kids in the back seat. And Chip's in between the middle seat and the front, my wife and I and our driver in the passenger seat. And at a certain point, one of the kids leaned over the top of Chip to grab something, and Chip growled. Okay, that was weird. We'd never had that before. And over the next week, maybe, in a couple different contexts, she growled at the kids. Now, it was strange. It was weird. It never happened before. I believe she gets a little bit stressed when she travels. She was shipped here as a puppy from Portugal, and sometimes she doesn't love traveling, and I think it's because of that. So I think she was stressed, and then one of the kids bent over the top of her, and I think she felt a little bit threatened, and so she growled. And then, while we were at this little rental house over the weekend, she growled a couple times, and I think it was because she was feeling stressed. But nevertheless, it was time for us to re-up our boundaries with the kids, but also work with the dog. And I'll explain what we did with the dog and what you should do, or a piece of what a lot of people should do if they've got similar issues. But it's so important that from the get-go, you teach your kids to give your dog space. I can't imagine what it would be like if we'd never taught that to our kids, and suddenly they are, you know, and they're doing this over years, that's where dogs bite kids. You know, and things happen where the family says, oh, well, they've been so good with the kids, we don't understand it. This, almost always, it's been something that's been building, 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 and it's under the surface, so you don't see it. And then finally the kid steps on the dog's tail, and the dog's like, I've had enough. You know, it's not just the fact that the kid stepped on the tail, it's the fact that the kid always gets in the dog's face, always gets near the dog when he's eating, always does this, always pushes the dog, always is in the dog's personal space, and now he stepped on the tail. That's very common. That people aren't recognizing the signs ahead of time. And so this video is to remind you folks just how important it is to give space to the dog. Now, in our case, this was probably a month ago that it happened, and I don't think we've had any growls for about 3 weeks. And so I'll tell you what I've done and what I did with a previous dog. My Rottweiler, Rocco, didn't like kids, and so this is what we did with him. And this is also what we've done with dozens of other dogs that we've trained over the years to help with this scenario, is we give the dog an out. You know, we teach the dog what they should be doing instead of feeling stressed by the kid, because that's what it is. It's stress. I feel stressed by you. I'm going to growl and tell you off. And so what I want to do in a situation like that is verbally, I'm going to give a correction. Like, no, 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 no. You know, and I don't want it to be like this harsh correction, because over the top correction in a case like this could cause the dog to react even more poorly. You know, the dog's already on edge and gets this heavy correction. And so it's more of like a pattern interrupt. Like, no, 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 come over here or go over there. Now my dog kind of gets that. Like, I can tell her, go over there. I can tell her, go to your bed over there. I can tell her, come over here. You know, and so she kind of understands directional stuff. If your dog doesn't, you might need to put a leash on and kind of teach that kind of stuff. But, you know, as she's feeling that stress, no, 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 get over there. And she goes over there, down, she lies down. Well, in German, we tell her Platz. She lies down. Okay, good girl. And the pressure's gone. And then I can say, I want to say it happened 3-4 times. Each time it was, no, 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 get over there, lie down. And so what we're doing here is we're teaching the dog, when you're feeling stressed, I don't like your response. Like, the stress, it is what it is, but your responsive growling, I don't like that. But I'm going to give you a way to bring the stress, push the stress right off, go over there and lie down. And in the process, you know, we teach the kids, hey, if we have to send the dog over there, leave the dog alone. In the meantime, hey, let's be careful about the space that we're, you know, that the dog's space and stuff like that. And so it's not simple, but because this is on the back of a lot of obedience and structure and rules and stuff like that. But as I'm seeing stress from the dog, I want to teach her or him, whatever dog you've got at home, I want the dog to understand that when you're feeling stressed by the kids, walk away. Walk away and you're going to be okay. And so that was how we had a Rottweiler for 10 years who didn't like kids, and he never bit anybody or never hurt anybody. That's how, you know, in a week we were able to help Chip. And if we ever see it rear its head again, we'll do the exact same thing and teach her, oh, no, when you're feeling stressed, go over there. Now, why this was brought up to me today to do a video is because I let Chip on the couch most of the time, and she was up with me, and my daughter was over there, and Chip was like, I'm going to go lay on top of, you know, lay not on top, but lean against and cuddle with our other daughter. And that was the daughter that she had been growling at. And so, like I say, in the space of a few weeks, she's now feeling way more comfortable to where she's feeling vulnerable and like, I just want to cuddle, I want to be near you. And so I think we're doing okay. Obviously, we're going to always be careful, because the thing you have to remember is you've got a predator living in your house. That's a dog. Dogs are predators. And you've got kids. And so you don't ever let your guard down, ever. I don't care if you got the sweetest little golden retriever. You don't let your guard down. You're careful with dogs and kids, but if you start to see a situation rising, you've got to teach your dog an alternative behavior, a coping mechanism. When you feel this, go over there, lie down, and you'll be okay. And if you can convince the dog of that over and over, the dog will soon do that. So my Rottweiler, he got to that point, you know, pretty quick, pretty early on when my kids were little. If he felt stressed, he would just walk away and go plop himself somewhere else. And so he learned this coping mechanism, and it saved him and it saved our kids, and you know, they lived happily ever after until he passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, teach your dog to cope, and you're going to be in much better shape.